So I've been training as a self-proclaimed hybrid athlete for about 8 months now. And while it always hasn't been perfect on paper, I've really honed in the actual training plan day to day and week to week as of late. I kind of wanted to define what a hybrid athlete is, at least in my own view. All right, so to best illustrate how I visualize hybrid athlete and the kind of terminology I'm using in my head as a hybrid athlete is this kind of recovery meter here. So this whole 25, 50, 75, 100% recovery is really just exemplifying how many points of recovery, really how much energy you have in a week to allocate to a certain kind of training. So theoretically, if I was only concerned about doing a powerlifting meet, we would have a PL. What I would do is I would allocate 100% of my recovery into the PL meet. And I would get probably about 100% of my potential, of the actual outcome I can have. But that's not what we're doing, right? So we have, as a hybrid athlete, I'm just going to erase this here. We have multiple disciplines that we're going to compete in and that we want to train for and develop over a period of time. So the first one might be a PL meet, right? The second one might be a race. In my case, we are doing a ultramarathon with a team, so it'll be a leg-based ultramarathon. And then as well in my case, it's going to be a bodybuilding show. So now, just because we decided to do these extra things, we don't get more recovery points to allocate. So we have to choose wisely. So for example, right now, powerlifting meet is the very next thing. So I might be something like this, where 75% of my recovery points, if you play video games like World of Warcraft or RuneScape, these would be like talent points. We have a certain amount of talents to spec into a certain like ability or something like that. But the nice thing is, even with only like 70% of my recovery, I might get 90% of the actual results, or even close to 95 of the actual results on meet day. Where if I had done 100%, maybe I lift 5, 10 kilos heavier in each of the lifts, which lets us play with the remaining about 30% of recovery. So here, I would probably say for me right now, this is bodybuilding. And I'm going to come back to this as well. And then this here, the other 30% recovery is going into run training and endurance training. And so right now, this might get me like 50%, maybe less, of the results by allocating 30% of my recovery. And for this, I would argue it's actually higher. And that's because the beautiful thing about hybrid training is even though I'm allocating 70% of my recovery to powerlifting, maybe like over half of that actual workout and weight training that I'm doing for powerlifting is also benefiting my bodybuilding training because you're in the gym lifting weights. Vice versa, for bodybuilding, my race training is getting my weight down. So a portion of this is also, from my race training, is also helping my bodybuilding. So you structure your training in a way that you do your best to prioritize your meets and competitions coming up, but you're also doing your programming in a way that they're all, to some degree, helping out. So some of these recovery points that I'm doing are helping all of these. So then that's why you can end up with the result where if you compete over 6 months of getting a good percentage of your results. Now, of course, once I'm done my powerlifting meet, this is going to change to be like 60-40 bodybuilding racing, but that's kind of how I conceptualize it. And there are definitely people who are way more skewed one way or the other, where they might be like 70% running and 30% weight training, which is totally fine, still hybrid, but they are training for different modalities. And these aren't the only modalities you can train for as a hybrid athlete. You could train for anything, right? Shot put, you could do biking. You see a lot of people nowadays doing running, swimming, and biking. That's all endurance, but those are still hybrid modalities.